Hello and welcome to another episode of the Expert to Authority show. And this is a special series where we interview the GTeX Awards winners. And today we are here with the one and only Angela Roth, which won the Best Newcomer of the Year 2022 last year. So, Angela, first of all, congratulations and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Simone. It's lovely to be here.
Well, let's get started first of all, in terms of just a quick introduction in terms of who you are and what you do, so then people have an understanding before we get to talk about how why you won and also some of the lessons that you got.
I'm Angela Roth. Obviously, I live down in Devon in the UK, and I run a business for heart-led coaches and speakers, helping them to get out there, to raise their visibility, to be seen for their expertise, and also to create their first program so they can scale and grow their businesses.
And so I know that the reason why we gave you this award has been in particular as best newcomer because you joined GTeX and then you had a big change because before you had a completely different business. What was your business before going in this particular field and niche?
Well, I was working with people in the weight loss industry and had been doing that before COVID, and thought that when all the virtual world hit us and we all had to kind of go not from face-to-face meetings, I kind of just fell into carrying on doing that because I thought, well, that's what I do. So I carried on doing it and had a journey myself in that area. But I knew that something wasn't right because I really wasn't excited by it, and I was finding do you know what it felt like? I was walking through treacle. That's how I could describe it. That every day I was getting up and almost beginning to resent the business because the joy was gone. And yet I felt really guilty because we'd invested a lot of money actually in resetting up that business. And so I felt like I'd be letting everybody down, my husband, my family, the people I was trying to help and all of that. But I knew that something had to change. And really, when I joined you, I actually was still, the first time I came on one of your trainings, I was still trying to make that business work. And then literally it was just like a kind of thing that hit me in the face. And I thought, why am I doing this? Because people were asking me for help, but the people who were asking me for help were not people who were trying to lose weight.
Hmm.
So it was like, why am I trying to kill myself trying to help people that don't want me to help them when I could be helping all these people that do want me to help them?
Now, what and in a moment for everyone who's watching or listening, we're going to talk in particular about what was her journey in terms of Angela and making this pivot, making it work, the doubts, the resistance, and the things that worked. So pay close attention because I'm sure if you're in a similar space, then you will definitely find a lot of value. The first question that I have is what made it so difficult to accept that change? Because you said that you had, you weren't happy anymore in the work that you were doing before. You loved giving the transformation in terms of weight loss, but at the same time, that wasn't your business. That wasn't the things that was making you happy. And you had on the other side other people that were looking for help in more like on the business mentoring side and getting things started as a coach that you would say, no, this is not what I do. And so you ignore that part. What made you stay there instead of just going ahead and accepting it and say, you know what, let me change?
I think it was because people had relied on me in that area of losing weight, and I'd been very successful in helping people understand that it wasn't really about the food. But what I wasn't successful in was actually getting them to pay me. They wanted me to do it for free, and that was partly probably my own fault actually. So, valuing myself, but it was also they were so used to just paying like £5 a week to go to a club, and I couldn't give them those quick fix results because I was doing this sort of a deeper work. But then I just decided that I was going to get out there, and I wasn't visible enough. So I thought, right, okay,
Mm.
in that case, I'll do something. I'll move out there and I'll get people visible. So I created a whole online sort of speaking event. And then the big shift for me was listening to every single one virtually of the people who came to speak. And there was 53 people that came. And almost all of them were heart-centered, purpose-driven people who really wanted to change the world and change people's lives, but had no audience and had no confidence and didn't know how to charge people. And as I
Mm.
listened to them and I thought, And actually, a lot of them had invested in the wrong thing to try and build a business with people who weren't really going to help them. And that's what really moved me. And it made me think, do you know what? I'm not the only person here. And if somebody doesn't do something about it, this is just going to carry on. So I started telling my husband, um, I've got to do something about this. He thought I was crazy because, as I say, we had invested quite heavily in the other business. It's like, what do you want to do something completely new? Are you crazy? You know, you've just spent all this time and all this money and all this effort trying to create this business. It's not working. I said to him, it's not working, Dirk. It's just not working. We're just going to be spending more and more money on it. Um, so yeah, so there was a kind of a guilt feeling that I'd be letting people down if
Yeah.
I changed, but this real growing determination that I needed to change. Otherwise, I was just gonna fall down in it. I was just getting depressed, and that's no good to anybody.
No, it is not good to anybody, and I think that there are a lot of people. When you invest time, money, resources into a particular line, whether it's work. I mean, we can see this how sometimes it works with university as well, right? You invest 5 years of your life, 3 to 5 years of your life, sometimes 10 years, and then you go into the job and then realize that actually that's not for you. But because you invested so much time into studying and so much money into paying, then you have people that are staying in those jobs because they they don't want to waste all that they've invested in. And I think it's typical for us as human beings. If we are invested into something, it's more difficult to let go and just to change. And fortunately, is this way because there is some positive on that character. But on the other side, these are also, like in your situation, making decisions that can keep us miserable. And so if everyone is watching or listening right now, I want you to think about your business as well. Are you doing the things that actually fire you up, that make you happy? Or are you just doing things because you can do them, or because you've invested a lot of time, money, and energy there? Because you don't need to be stuck there, and you might be able to do something that can be more profitable and more fulfilling at the same time. In this period of transition, when you went again from the health loss to the visibility side, what were some of the things, a couple of like principles that help you make it work and make this a new venture successful in a way that you were not able to do it before with the other business, for example?
I think the first thing that really worked for me was acknowledging that what was lighting me up was drawing out from other people their magic, their purpose, their intention, and giving them space to talk, which is what I'd done on this summit that I'd created. And so acknowledging in me what was really giving me joy and what wasn't, and being willing to say, to let go of what wasn't giving me joy, and to let go of the guilt, and to think, do you know what? I can take the learning, I can take hold of all the mistakes I've made, and I can turn them into something good. Or I can stay making mistakes, walk through treacle every day, and end up feeling like a failure.
Mm.
So there was a huge energy shift. And I think that's what makes the difference for me. Once I started acknowledging what was happening inside of me, which was massive, there was this kind of growing excitement, energy, and drive to go out there and help the people who I knew I could help, even though it meant letting go of all the things I'd been doing. And I knew that some people would think I was totally crazy, but I didn't care because once you actually, and the other thing was that in my heart, I was feeling a real care and compassion for people who, like me, had been struggling running the wrong business or without the right help. And it was just making me more and more excited, so much so that poor Dirk, my husband, like he was just like, just slow down. Just, I don't get it. Just wait a minute. Just tell me again and all of that. You know, I was just like, it was just all coming out of my head. All of
Mm.
these things I wanted to do. I wanted to change the world. And I have to say, getting the Best Newcomer Award, let me talk about that, but it's just been brilliant because I actually won that twice for two different places this year. And I'm going to tell you now, I mean, I'm 62 years old. To get the Best Newcomer Award at 62, I think is pretty amazing.
It is. That's a testament that what's age? You can restart at any time. Every year can be a year of a newcomer. Of course, you don't want to restart every single year because otherwise don't build any traction. But at the same time, I think it's definitely a testament for people that are saying, I know what, I'm too old, I cannot change, or I've been doing this for too long. It's too late now. And that's perfect proof that, you know, when the right thing doesn't care about how old you are, when it comes, it comes.
Yeah.
And in that moment, then is your choice. You ride the wave or you decide to stay where you are. And in your case, then you decided to ride this wave. And that's what makes things work. I have another question, which is what made you, because when people want to change, sometimes they know they're not doing the right thing. They're not in the right field. They're not in the right business, but they still keep going with it because they've invested time, money, and energy, as we discussed. How did you know inside you that this was going to be the right decision for you, instead of just another idea or an escape from something that did not work? Because it requires a certain level of guts and clarity and say, no, this is it. I know it. Sometimes I kind of feel it. So what was that moment, and what were the signals for you that made you feel, yes, this is it?
Do you know, I think it's because for so long during the other business, I really wasn't earning anything. I was literally scraping along, if you like. And as I grew more excited about the idea I had in my head, I began to believe that it was right for me to ask to be paid for it because I knew the value I was going to give and I knew the time I was going to put into it. And I wasn't asking a huge amount of money from anybody. I wasn't going out there and saying, you don't know me from Adam, but pay me £10,000 or anything like that. It was a manageable amount that I was offering to people to help and support them. And it felt right. It felt right that I should do that. So that was the first thing because I hadn't actually felt it so much in the other business. So I felt like it was right. I had some people telling me I couldn't, saying, no, 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 you've got to prove it first and then you can start asking for payment. And I thought, well, actually, I've got to put food on the table. I actually need to earn an
Mm.
income. And I knew what I was going to do for people. And I think the the joy that I was getting from seeing other people having their face light up because I cared enough to listen to them and I cared enough to go out and tell other people about them. And when I saw the connection between us, that gave me a huge energy lift. And I think that when you're in the right space, there is nothing better than that feeling inside of you. And I definitely would say, if your day is, anybody listening to this, if your day is that you're trudging along and that you're just, almost like filling time until you retire, then have a think about what you're doing and start asking yourself the question, do you actually want to get to that space? Do you want to kind of hang up your coat at the end of the day and say, I'm retired now and I'm going to just like, walk the dog and drink coffee? That's not life to me. I want to live every minute of my life and I want to touch people outside of me. I want to actually, well, I don't want to give up. I just want to help other people to achieve their dreams. And I could see that was happening in just small ways by me believing in them. That was happening for them, and that was a huge shift change for me.
It is the environment. I agree with you. The environment in which you're in is infectious. I mean, you're providing an environment for others. You got the environment for you through GTeX, and having that environment around you, that where you're able to bounce off of the energy of each other, is very underrated. I think a lot of people talk about it, but very few really understand how powerful it is and how much we need it as human beings,
Yeah.
because we can really feed off each other's energy. And of course, everyone is in their own way. I'm curious to know now, if now, there was a moment of clarity, you decided to go ahead. Did you have other moments of doubt that followed it after you started, when you said, oh, am I doing the right thing? Or is this the right? Even after maybe a few months, or after you made the decision, after you kept things going, did you have these moments as well?
Yeah, for sure. A couple of times actually, because I'm a collaborator, and I just want to pay tribute to you, Simone, because I knew that you could see something in me and what I was talking about, even though I was doing the wrong business at the time. Um, so that was a real boost for me. your call to me and said, look, do you want to join this community for this, that what I could afford? That was a huge shift change for me. So I thought, okay, so he believes in me. That was really big. There's a couple of other people that believed in me. But there was a guy that I asked to help me who seemed really, really enthusiastic. And I was convinced that he was the person to share it with. And for one reason or another, he very quickly started to tell me, first of all, that I shouldn't be charging anything because I hadn't proved myself yet. So then I was like, I was almost in tears because I was so excited about what I was doing. But there was the doubt there, maybe this is wrong. Maybe I do need to prove it first. But I pushed through that doubt. But then the membership grew very slowly to begin with. But I still believed in it. But then it began to get to the point where I still wasn't actually earning enough to make it viable as an income. I was thinking, well, what do I do? Go and get a job in Tesco's to support myself and then try and do this squashed in the, at the end of the day. But I knew that I wouldn't be able to give to the people that I was giving to if I did that. But at the same time, we'd had a situation in our family where we'd had to use our savings to support one of our children, and we needed to earn something. So that was a doubt. It was like, well, maybe I should just go and stack shelves. But even then, even when I was thinking like that, it was being part of a community, like you've just said, the GTeX community, knowing that there were other people. I wasn't on my own. There were other people who were struggling and who were striving to succeed and get there. There was a supportive community around you. That was what pushed me through and helped me to come through and say, no, stand your ground, believe in yourself, see the change that you're making in people's lives. And even if to begin with it was 5 or 10 people, I knew what difference it was making to them. And so that really gave me the push to say, no, just keep going, keep going, keep going. Push, 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 do everything it takes, and you'll get there.
I love this as a message to everyone who is watching or listening, because doubts will come. Sometimes they're internals. Sometimes someone makes a comment that gets us to doubt ourselves. It's part of the process. It's part of the game. And it's also a test for us to see how much do we believe in this. Are we ready to give up on the first or second comment, or third or fourth or fifth? Or do we want it? Do we want to make it work? And this is, I think, for everyone who is doubting themselves or thinking themselves of less that they know that they could be, or they know that they are, is a reminder that you're much bigger and capable than what you think you are. And the more you focus, as you did, to the service that you're making, the lives that you're changing, even if they're not like hundreds or thousands, but you do it, and you see every change, and you see the comments, and you see the positivity, and you see the feedback that comes from every single individual member, then that's the fuel that gets you to say, okay, actually, I can grow this. I can make more of this change and more of this work. I'm curious to know now, what does being a best newcomer and winning this award meant to you? What did that mean to you on a personal and professional level?
Do you know what? It meant a huge amount to me because part of me it was like a real buzz because of my age, and because I don't think it. Well, I come from a family, a long line of people who don't give up, people who fight. My grandfather, my dad, my mum. My mum's 96 and she's still every day. She lives for the day and she keeps pushing on. And,
Wow.
inside of me, there was a real kind of amusement in one sense at the thought of being best newcomer when other people I know are retiring. It gave my mum a real buzz. Like some of my sisters will say to my mum, "What is Angie doing? I don't get what she's doing." And mum's like, "I don't care what she's doing. I don't really understand it, but she's clearly enjoying herself. That's all that matters." And she sees the change in me. She sees the energy. I wake up every morning full of ideas, full of energy in a way that I've never have before. So it's almost like I've become, I finally found my space. And if it's taken me 60 years to get there, who cares? It's just like, that means I can go out there and say to people, whatever you've got in your life, in your heart, that you want to achieve, that you want to go and you want to reach for, then do it. and get help. Reach out to the people that will stand by you and support you and help you. Don't hide in the background and think that it's not going to happen and that you've let life pass you by. Because you know what? I've learned so much in my years. I've done various different jobs. If people know the jobs I've done, they're like, they don't quite believe it. But every job I've done has been 100%. I give 100% to it. And I have learned so much. And so that for me, it's like a message to the world to say, it doesn't matter how old you are, what your experience is. If you've got something to give, go out there and give it, because you are going to change the world.
Wow. And this is exactly why we gave you this award. This is exactly why we gave you this award. Because Tolkien, going back to the fight, like you didn't give up. You didn't settle for what it was. You decided, hey, I'm gonna change. I'm gonna make this, and I'm gonna make this work, and I'm going to give it my all. Which is the other part that we haven't discussed so far. You didn't double down. You didn't just double. We're doubling with it. No, you gave it your all. You were in, and you wanted to make it work, and you did everything you could to make it work. Which is the other part. After finding that, okay, this is my next step, then the work starts. It's not that's the beginning. Now the work starts, and so then you honored like your family heritage in this way, and the character of your family, and you went all in, and that's also what made it work. Practically, what help did you receive from GTeX that made you, if you think about the things that we offer and the things that you experience as well, what were the most valuable part for you in this period of transition, this period of change?
I think, first of all, that belief that if you've got something to do, then there's a way to do it. So there's a lot of variety in GTeX. There's a lot of different places you can go to for help and support. There's different courses, there's programs, different things that you can touch base on. But the other thing that I love is your energy, Simone. I find that very infectious. I feel, your vulnerability your willingness to share that you don't necessarily find everything easy, that, you've had problems in your life, you've had questions. That's, to be a leader, for me, you have to show the vulnerability as well, because it means that I can connect and feel like it's okay if I'm having a bad day.
Hmm.
So there's a very hands-on, you're very much in your business, and I think that's really important. And the other thing is the community side of it. So the getting to know each other and helping and supporting each other, finding out each other's difficulties that they might need a bit of help in, but also their wins and their sort of successes, and how we can support each other. I find that very, very useful indeed. And then the other thing that I did find really helpful, and I think a lot of people out there could do with this actually, is that willingness to show a kind of accountability structure. So at the end of the day, we're all accountable to ourselves. If we don't do what we're supposed to do to get our business going, if we don't do what we need to do, then we can't really blame anybody else. But it's hard. It's hard if you're really setting up something new and you're working hard at it, and sometimes you forget the wins, because the day-to-day life can be quite difficult as you're pushing through. And anybody that's an entrepreneur will know the hours that you're putting in to begin with. But having that monthly check-in and actually going back and saying, oh, my social media profile has grown by 300 this month, or whatever it was. Oh, my income has grown by, £300 this month, or whatever. It doesn't matter how small those steps are, just seeing those steps and knowing that you're typing it in and you're having a bit of a check-in with it, you're being able to ask questions. If you're struggling, if you need ideas, those things are really, really helpful. And I think a lot of people who are new into entrepreneurship and in the coaching world haven't got that. And that's why actually they end up floundering, because they just haven't got that check-in.
No, I appreciate it. That's exactly why we apply this model recently to track every single month. Your numbers, your audience, your revenues, the number of clients that you work with. Because there was a book that I read that made a huge impact last year, a couple of years ago in my life, which is called The Gap and the Gain. Incredible book. The core concept is a lot of time we compare where we are compared to a fictitious goal. an idea of what we want to achieve. And so we are always living in the gap. We are living between where we are compared to where we want to be. Well, actually, the most realistic metric that we have is comparing ourselves from where we are now compared to where we were. But we are not trained, and our society doesn't get us to think in this way. Because it's true, all we can control the future. We have no clue if what we want is going to happen, but what we can see is the progress we made compared to the past. And not many people are thinking in this way, in particular in entrepreneurial world. And so after I read that, I was thinking, how can I integrate this in the programs that we run? And that's where the tracking system came into place, the monthly check-in, for this particular reason, because we always feel that we are never good enough because we are never arrived. There is always another gap. There is always another gap. Once we reach the next one, there's always another gap. Well, we can look back, then we see, oh, wow, look at what I've done. It does magic to the way we see the world. It does magic to our mindset, because now we can be fueled with this energy like you did. You can say, look, my audience is growing, my income is growing, or maybe some months where it's not. But then you see the trends and you see, actually, overall, compared to 4 months ago, I'm in a way better situation now. So I'm glad that you mentioned it, because for us it made a big difference. Uh, so for anyone that is watching or listening, if you're interested in knowing more about how you can become a GTeX member and start also in the journey that Angela started with, then check the website, which is called gtexmethod.com. So www.gtexmethod.com. All the details of the Ultimate Expert program are there. To wrap up, Angela, what are your priorities right now? What are you working on? And what does the future look like for you?
Well, the priorities now are getting our members to really create their own program. So now they're part of a membership, they're part of a community, they're getting lots of help and support around social media and all of that stuff. But actually, it's getting them to push out into their lane, if you like, just like I have, and making sure that they've got their people around them. So it's helping them create their own programs. And then use that first program, that kind of A to D journey with their clients, to enable them to actually then go out there and take their clients on an A to Z journey. And that's just exciting for me, watching them achieve their goals. So my goal is really to touch the world even further by helping my members touch their future world around them.
Mm. So for anyone, make sure you connect with Angela. If you're watching or listening to the recording, Angela's contact details are in the descriptions or the show notes if you're listening to the podcast. I want to acknowledge Linda, which is here live with us, and she put a comment we published on the screen. Angela, you're an inspiration, and I can wrap up with this. Yes, Angela, you indeed are an inspiration, and congratulations again for winning the best newcomer award. And yeah, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. So congratulations again.
Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate that.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching or listening. And until next time, remember that together we grow exponentially. Ciao.